Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin. I just rewatched the final Mission Impossible movie. Man, that's fascinating. Rich with theological stuff.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
Okay, so did you see the final two Mission Impossible movies? I look forward to your thoughts down in the comments right now. What did you think? Did you like them? Personally, I liked the seventh one quite a bit. Like the eighth one a bit less, but I still think I like it more than most people seem to like it. Like, I enjoyed the final two movies, and I think it's because when I look at it theologically, there's a lot of interesting symbolism. There's a lot of places where really with this movie, you don't have to stretch to make some theological connections. And there are three big characters that I'm going to look at just in what they are and what they represent. It's pretty obvious. So you have the entity, you have grace, and you have Gabriel. So very interesting the name choices, very interesting the villain choice. So for me, it was really kind of cool to dive into this, looking at the idea of this entity, this AI. Number one of the interesting things about this AI is it truly acts like the devil. They call it the anti-God. And the whole time I'm watching this, I'm going, yeah, definitely it's the anti-God. It's definitely the antichrist. That is definitely who and what the entity represents, or what this character is based off of. I mean, if you look at the characteristics of Satan, the fact that Satan can't create anything original, he can't do anything on his own, but what he can do is twist and counterfeit. That is exactly what the AI does. It has a counterfeit omniscience. As it's getting into all the computers and all of our security feeds and gathering all of this knowledge and getting to know all of these people, it is a counterfeit omniscience. And then it has this counterfeit omnipresence, the fact that it could seem like it's everywhere, but it's nowhere, but it's because it's this digital computer program. Of course, it can't touch God and the level that God is at. It's a counterfeit. And to accomplish its goals, it does an awful lot in common with like what the devil does. For instance, Jesus said that the devil knows that a house divided against itself cannot stand. And one of the things the entity is doing is it's breeding fear, a very strong fear base that is creating division. You know, as governments fight for control over this thing, and why do they want control over the entity? Because of its digital power, its ability to get online and shape truth. So the humans are getting this idea in their head that this entity has the power to control truth, which kind of means they're admitting there is an absolute truth. There is things that are really true, and there are things that are really lies. And the entity is doing a really good job twisting the truth just enough, getting online, news articles, whatever. I mean, the movie doesn't really dive into this much. And by the way, I'm looking at like movie 7 and movie 8 and kind of combining them together as I look at this. And so when you dive into it that way, you really see like, oh yeah, he is the devil. He's counterfeiting. He's using the devil tactics. He's creating fear. He's creating division. The other thing that is interesting is the human response. Let's control it. I bet you if we could be the first nation to get our hands on the entity, its source code, we can actually control this thing, which means we would control truth. Like, it's amazing how quickly it went crooked, that it was about the idea of controlling truth. It wasn't just like, let's control the entity so that, it's safe and it's not deceiving the world and creating chaos. No, it's so we could create the chaos, so we could control the truth. It's the exact story of the serpent in Adam and Eve.
Will the humans trust God's definition of good and evil, or are they going to seize the opportunity and define good and evil for themselves?
So again, here comes this human deception. Humans deceive thinking we can decide right and wrong for ourselves. We can decide truth for ourselves if only we can control the entity.
This is the core biblical explanation for that concept of sin, that desire to call the shots myself. It's the inward turn of the human heart to do what's good for me and my tribe, even if it's at the expense of you and your tribe.
It very much reminds me, actually, of C.S. Lewis's book, That Hideous Strength. Very weird connection, right? It's the third book in C.S. Lewis's space trilogy. Check out my video on that right here on this channel where I dove really deep into that book. But what that book is all about is the fact that mankind is trying to control the supernatural. And, C.S. Lewis has used different words and different language, but to me, that's the heart of it. They're trying to control demons, not knowing that they're demons. They're trying to control the supernatural, not knowing that it's the supernatural. They just think there's a power greater and above them, and through science, they could explain it and tame it and make it theirs. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to defeat death by artificial means. One day they want to put humans in an artificial body, like transhumanism. Like, it's really interesting to have that in the 40s and in this book in the 40s. Then you come into this and you see man is repeating all of that. Man wants to control the entity because they want to control truth. They're trying to control a power that they don't know what it is and they can't comprehend it. And the way I see this thing behave in the movie, it has characteristics that, okay, it might just be artistic license and all of that, but me looking at it through a Christian lens, I see characteristics that are beyond the natural and beyond just code, that something is entering in behind the entity, that there is a power behind it that the humans are not grasping. That brings us to the next interesting thing, Gabriel. Okay, so you have a false messenger, a dark messenger named Gabriel. Think about this. A messenger named Gabriel appeared to Mother Mary and said, hey, you're going to give birth to a son and you shall call his name Jesus. And that is the true messenger. So how interesting in this dark reality where you have an artificial intelligence that's trying to counterfeit God is now counterfeiting with a dark messenger. Now, as you study eschatology in the Bible, this would be what many would call the false prophet. So you'd have the dragon, the devil, then you'd have the beast, which would be the Antichrist, and then you would have this false prophet who is able to perform signs. So you didn't see a lot of signs performed by Gabriel, but you have the idea there that he is a dark counterfeit messenger, just like Gabriel, the angel in the Bible, is the true messenger that came to give Mary that message that, the Savior of the world was going to come through her and be born to save the world. And Gabriel kind of falls for the human trap as well, because he seemed to be a servant of the entity in movie number 7. But then he failed the entity when Ethan got the cruciform key. And so because he failed the entity, he seemed to be on the outs with it. So he goes, okay, well, if I'm out, then I'm just going to control you. So he fell for that whole human thing where he wanted to be the one to control it. He got a taste of power as a dark messenger, and now he wants the full power by controlling the entity. Now, this takes us to what I think is the resolve of everything, a character named Grace. I thought this character was interesting, because I really didn't like her the whole first chunk of movie number 7. And it took through movie number 8 and then me kind of sitting down thinking about this to really like this and appreciate this about the character. Her name is Grace, and she has quite a character arc. In movie 7, what does she need? Grace. Because every time Ethan rushes in to save her, she just bucks his authority. She rebels against him. My goodness, she handcuffs him to the steering wheel of the yellow car with the train coming in, okay? It's making things worse. No matter how many times she rebelled against Ethan, no matter how many times she ran from him, which made things worse rather than better, no matter what, Ethan always showed up to save her. So it's interesting because in the first movie, she needed grace, and Ethan was the picture of that grace. Time and time again, it's like what Jesus said, if somebody sins against you, don't just forgive them 7 times, 70 times 7.
I don't mean literally 77 times. 70 times 7. Completion times completion. Endless forgiveness.
Infinite forgiveness. And you see that picture in Ethan being a picture of grace coming in to save Grace. And throughout the movie, they talk about the choice that they were offered. They didn't have much of a life, but they said yes to the mission. They said yes to the IMF, and it gave them a life. And it reminds me of Deuteronomy 30, verse 19, where God says, I've set before you life and death, blessings and cursings. Therefore, choose life. Can you hear God just pleading? Please choose life, that you and your descendants may live. And throughout the whole movie, it's like Ethan is pleading with Grace, would you just choose life? And Ethan has been saying, you're going to be offered the choice, and you need to say yes. And by the end of movie 7, she said yes. Well, then a transformation occurs. So now here in movie 8, she becomes the true picture of grace because it's in the moment, in the blink of an eye, which sounds so much like, I think it's 2nd or 1st Corinthians, where in the blink of an eye, we will be changed, which is another eschatology study, another eschatology thing we could dive into here, but it just so fits in the blink of an eye, we will all be changed. Only in the blink of an eye could she capture this enemy and trap him in an eternal prison. And it just reminds me of Romans chapter 5 when it's talking about Jesus and how at the right time he came. Grace came and grace saved us. If we only just accept the choice. So really interesting choices that they made with the entity, with Gabriel, a messenger, a dark messenger, with grace representing grace coming in, because where this all builds up to is grace wins. It's in that last moment that you saw it. Grace won when she trapped the entity in that thing. So really interesting movies, really interesting character name choices and things like that. And it really does just convey an interesting message. Now, when you watch Mission Impossible 7 and 8, what do you see in these movies? What did I not say in this that you like, oh my gosh, you know what? That's true, but also this. Or like, did you see something else altogether? I would love to talk with you about these two movies in the comments below. So let's do that right now. Thank you so much for watching Durbania. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and share this with a friend. Thank you so much for watching.